Welcome to Universal Man. My name is Mark Weppett, and I'm here to help you unleash your apex potential. Today I'm back with another Vanguard coaching call where I coach one of the members of my Vanguard community, and I post it here for all you guys to enjoy. I think it was a really great conversation. Today we're joined by Shamus, who's been a longtime member of the community. He's successfully quit porn, and now he's moved his sights to bigger goals. And he's, we talked about college productivity, we talked about finding your path in life, and we even got into some advanced discussion of the 80-20 principle, which is actually, I think, really interesting and powerful. So if you guys have any specific things that you'd like to see me coach people around, make sure you drop a comment and let me know what those things are. Otherwise, I hope you get a ton out of this. Please like, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff if you liked it. Obviously, if you didn't, feel free to let me know that as well. And just one more thing, we do have kind of a once-in-a-lifetime Vanguard special going on here for the elite tier. So if you think about maybe you'd like to work with me, be able to interact with me every single week in the form of Q&As and even live calls, well then make sure you check out the link below. All right, enjoy the conversation. So today we are joined by our good friend Shamus here, who's been a longtime member of the Vanguard. And today we're going to do a little coaching. So how you doing, Shamus? Thanks so much for coming on.
No, it's great. Thank you for having me, Mark. I'll really enjoy this. I think you're good.
Yeah, it'll be really great. So, you've been working with us for a while now, and what is it exactly that you've been up to lately? What would you like to get out of this session here?
Well, yeah, the reboot's going well. 90 days plus. So what I decided to do was to kind of, work at my university, try and get my productivity up, and just stretch those career goals. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment.
Okay, awesome. So if we're going to walk away from this call and have you feel absolutely fantastic, what do you think we'd need to accomplish here?
Yeah, just that vision. I think we've had talks before about like vision, like kind of having a clear short term and long term kind of vision. Right. that kind of thing,
Sure. Okay. So I guess with this kind of stuff, we can start on whatever is kind of most pressing. So what's most pressing for you right now? Do you want to get the short term figured out, or do you want to get the long term figured out?
Yeah, I guess short term for the moment. So short term, let's say I've got an economics exam on Friday, and I want to do well for that. And also I have a few job applications for audit firms and things like that.
Okay. So you got some stuff you got to get done. So over the next few days, you're going to have to focus pretty well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And so how's your focus been recently?
It's been pretty good. I think we spoke about not trying to do too much at once. And obviously there are a few tasks at the moment, so that the economics exam is taking quite a bit of mental load, as is the applications, but I'm not drifting off, and the focus is pretty good.
Okay. So what do you think I could really help you improve them?
Utilizing the time the best way. Really keying in on trying to get to that next level, and try and give my best work.
Okay. So you said you've got this economics degree, and what was the other piece of it?
Just job applications.
Just job applications. Okay. And so how important is it to get those done before the economics exam?
So this application is pretty short term as well. I need to get it done, but the economics is probably more pressing on Friday. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the first thing to decide is are we trying to split your time between two different things? Because in general, that's a much more difficult task. Switching focus always costs something. There are ways to kind of do it for free. And maybe we'll look at that if we need to, but in your case here, you seem kind of crunched. And so it's is it even worth it then to be trying to do both? Or should you just do the economics thing right now?
I think for instance, I've got one job application now in terms of doing it, and I'm pretty set on it, and it's going well, but I still need to divide a little bit of time for that one.
Okay.
But after that, after today, let's say Thursday and Friday is pretty much focused on economics.
Okay.
So I have that full time for those.
Okay. So you're going to finish off the other application today and then go on the economics. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, I mean, that seems like a good plan. And so what do you think about your ability to do that? Do you feel pretty confident?
Yeah, I think the timing is so good, using the focus blocks and being quite strict with that. And I think we spoke about one of the writers who said, if you're going to do work, have the timer going. And if you're not going to do anything, then don't have any other distractions. I think that's really helpful with focus work.
Yeah.
Then having a timer, and it just helps a lot that way.
Yeah.
So that's one.
Yeah. So, I mean, that it sounds like, you're already implementing a lot of the stuff I teach around productivity, and it's just a matter of you kind of dialing in and getting it done. Now, do you see the potential for any sort of distractions to kind of get in the way? So it's like one of the things we could do is like, all right, you got a good plan, you got pretty good skills. And so we can look ahead and be like, all right, what might throw you off here?
That's a good question. So things like, I guess, you can be quite perfectionistic with essays. You can be kind of saying, oh, I need to get this absolutely, perfect, line by line. And sometimes that kind of can limit your creativity in coming up with a good idea. So something along those lines, I think would be good.
Okay. So like, you could see yourself kind of getting too caught up in trying to be fantastic, and that then sort of holding you back from completing the essay for a job application?
Not so much the job application. I think the economics one. The economics one's that one. And job application, I think I've got that one.
Okay, you think you got that one. So are you talking about like test time, or do you have to have like essays done before the exam?
Yeah, so we've got an essay. It's got 3 questions, and we get them beforehand so we can prepare them.
Gotcha.
These 3 questions are pretty complicated, and you can get lost in trying to be too good, if that makes sense. If you're not clear and you're too perfectionistic.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. No. Yeah, that makes sense. So, in a situation like that, the thing, like, what is it that you want to be focusing on? So if you're going to be trying to essentially condense and simplify, and then I guess expand and, hit all the details, it's like, how do you mentally hold that? What's your current kind of plan for creating an essay like that?
So currently what I'm doing is I've got the lecture slides and I've got the journal articles, and I'm just kind of putting everything as like kind of all the information in bullet points and my key points. And then I'm going to look at the question and I'm going to see, okay, which of these particular points that I've got on all my notes are relevant to that question. And then I have a bit more direction, I think, in approaching that question. Do you think that's a good approach?
Yeah. So, really what you're trying to do is you're engaging in a process of synthesis here. And this is where, a lot of college students or anyone who's in, an information kind of based, job, it's what they got to do. It's like you got to take in a bunch of information and then you got to put it out in a structured format. And so there's a couple of steps in doing that. And it sounds like you're doing a good job in the first part where you're just getting all the pieces out on the table. It's kind of like if you're doing a puzzle, it's like, what's the first thing you do? You just dump it all on the table and turn all of them face up so you can see the colors. And then you start sorting them, right? Like you separate the edge pieces over here and things of this color over here and that sort of thing. And that's basically what you got to do with this kind of stuff. And then what you're going to be looking for is the big main threads, the big points, because the way our brain works is that it's really good at kind of creating a relational model where it's like, if you know where one piece goes and you know everything around that piece, well, then all of a sudden, a big chunk, right? And if you know where those pieces connect to, then your brain can follow it. It's not, there are some exceptions to this. Some people can just memorize arbitrary facts, but I think most people, they memorize things far better when there's a coherent thread running through things, some kind of story or some kind of conceptual model. It's like either you can memorize a story or you can memorize like a physical sort of like visualization of how things match. And so what I would be looking for you is to try and like simplify it down to like a core skeleton. Be like, okay, there are, 3 or 5 or 6 main chunks of this thing, and then I can nest every detail underneath it. So do you feel like you know what that skeleton looks like, or are you still in the process of discovering it?
I think I have some ideas. Like, for instance, one of them is like, how does a country become more competitively like stronger? Like, how does it have a more of a competitive edge? And you look at kind of, the what's the benefits for a host country, or what's the benefits for the country that you're going to. So like, for instance, if you go into India, you go in because you can have a cheaper labor force than if you have in the US, for example, and you save on the tariffs. I do have some idea of that kind of where I'd take that.
Okay, good. So it's like, but like, so the higher level thing is like the identification of unique advantages, right? And it's like learning how to use what you have to your advantage. So in India, you could look at, the cheaper labor force as an advantage, or you could look at it as, our people are underpaid, et cetera. Like, and it's really a matter of perception and how you're going to decide to leverage it. So, that would be kind of like one big pillar then, and then you can talk about all the permutations of that one topic. And I think it's like, this is one of the things I try and do with my work is that like, we always want to try and find those fundamental principles. And so as you're going through that, and you can just keep asking, well, what's the bigger picture piece? Because the advantage to this from like a memorization standpoint, academic standpoint, is that if you can just master like the small number of big keys, then you have all the details already. You just have to plug that core key into whatever the circumstances are, and you're like, oh, here's the answer. Instead of having to memorize it, you just like can actually just play out the simulation in your brain. And like, oh, this is how it works. Does that make sense?
Exactly. No, that's really solid advice, because they're looking for critical analysis, just like you said, and you can't do that with a rigid kind of mind. You need that visualization, as you say. Like, you need to almost be in that in that company going in, or the country going in, and being like, okay, these are the problems that I actually visualize that person or that country would have, and try and play around with that.
Right, exactly. And this is how like I wish I could do this for everything. I was really bad at math, and I couldn't pull this off in math, but for, like philosophy and English and, history and that sort of stuff, that's how I did it. And like I would look over at my, some of the smart kids in class, and they were just going over every little detail furiously. And I was just like, I know the big pieces, I'll be all right. And I always was. And so like, it's just a much more efficient way to do it. And if you want to like really, how much more school you have left? A decent amount still?
Yeah, I've got this master's, and then I've got one in America after that. So that'll be more data analysis.
Okay. So here's like the super hack for doing this kind of stuff. If you want to have like the most efficient sort of, I would say, learning process, and if I was going to go back to school, this is exactly how I would do it, is you keep up the speed with the lectures. Actually, you get ahead with the lectures to the best of your ability. And then you try and extract these big concepts, and if you can't do this in the lecture by verifying that you've got it down perfect, then you go to office hours and be like, hey, here's my take on all this. Is this accurate? Because office hours is when they basically they'll really kind of give you everything. And you can really get all your answers done. And like once you install whatever model they're trying to teach, you've got the class. So that is probably almost more like the only time you should be, maybe not the only time. There's sometimes you just need to crunch a bunch of information or whatever. But like, go to them first. Get the big concepts. Get them to verify that you have them. And then, that you should be good to go. So that's how I would go about it if I were you.
That's good advice, definitely. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I do that a lot more with these lecturers in my masters. Much more effective to do that with my master's lecturers. In my undergraduate, however, I did that sometimes, and I just I think they didn't really get what I was saying. You know, some of the ideas. If you come up with innovation in university, it can be a bit risky. So I remember I was doing my undergraduate and I was going for kind of riskier stuff. I wanted to do something a bit out of the box, and I was like, you know, what do you think? And I left it a little bit too late, I suppose, but I just put it through. And my teacher was like, you know, this is really, really good, but this is not like the the guidelines. This is not what we were saying, and I suffered because of that. So.
Right. You got to play their game at the end of the day. Sometimes you can find a cool professor and you can kind of branch out and be more creative, but usually you want to do it with their permission. And sometimes, I found like, I needed to find my own way of thinking about things, and they didn't say that it wasn't the proper model, but then you just kind of figure out the translation. It's like, all right, here's the way I'm going to conceptualize it. This is how it fits in my brain. I know it's right. They want it in a different way. So use your model, but then just plug it into theirs when you're, doing the answer.
Absolutely. Awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, that's really, really good advice. I also wanted to ask, I was seeing success with your, like the claim method and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was just saying, like, it's just so weird how it works. So I'm branching out to people who I didn't think I would get hold of, like investors and people like that for my competition. And I mean, for things which are a little bit, as you said, uncertain in your like manifestation and stuff like that. Do you have any advice in like the practical world to like the job world, or do you know what I mean? Like, for instance, if you want to meet a certain person or you want to connect to like, good people,
yeah.
What claim methodology would you use for like micro claim or macro claim and like that kind of stuff?
Sure. So, just for everyone listening, the claim method, it's something I'll have a video on here soon. It's I actually have one in the Enter the Omni Game series where it's like claim your something. I forget the name of it. Do you know the name of it?
The claim method.
I forget which one it is. I named the Omni Game series so poorly. I can never remember like which one covers which topic. But basically, it's a method for willpower activation that you use to create energy, create motivation to go and do something. So the way it works is you imagine the thing that you want, and you imagine what it would feel like if you already had that thing. And you actually try and mix gratitude in for already having it, and then you let yourself go about it, which is the opposite of the way most people try to motivate themselves. They try and bring up all this pain of not having the thing and using that pain to drive them forward. And that can work, but there's problems with it. Go watch the video if you want to really figure it out. But like we take the opposite approach. You start with a state of fullness, a state of already having, and then focus on being like, okay, well, if that's already, if it's like, if I'm an oak seed and I know I'm going to become an oak tree, then all I got to do is let myself unfold and follow that path. And so for you're trying to figure out how to do this with some of the business stuff. And I think one of the biggest things is you have to start tracking that resonance. So it's like when you think about, all right, I want to meet this person. How am I going to do that? Well, all of a sudden you have a whole big bunch of either nothing or like random different options pop up in your head. Okay. And so you just kind of go through them and you touch them with your mind and you see what's got a little good vibration to it. When you scan it with your mind, you're going to have an immediate emotional reaction to all of those things. And you got to sort through it and figure out like what seems most plausible, well, it's a mixture between plausibility and then also like how much do you want to do it? How much does this align with you? Because often there's many different ways to skin a cat, as it were. And so you got to find the thing that, one, has some kind of rational shot of actually working. We're not performing magic here or anything. It's like, there has to be an actual possibility. But then on top of that, it's got to vibe with who you are, right? So, if, like, for example, you're trying to get a girl to go out with you, some guys want to do big dramatic gestures. Some guys just want to try and play it cool. Both can work. You just got to find which one resonates with you, because ultimately you're the one who's going to have to follow it. So when you think about like, do you have anything specific we could work on here rather than just talk about it in the abstract?
Sure. So, for instance, one of them. So, my project was a sustainability project. It was a food for good. So, we're working at ways to kind of reduce emissions and make increase crop yield.
Okay.
And the investors were people who were they have startups in these kind of industries. So they use food waste in really good ways, and they've got companies. So, for example, it would be kind of trying to get in touch with more aligned people like that. That's kind of where I always say the seed node is there. Is a person who aligns with those values and can create impact as well as success. You know?
Okay. So what I would want to do then maybe is try and define that seed node more. And seed node is just kind of like our term for intention. So it's like, what's the end point? Say this goes perfectly. What ends up like, or at least what's the feeling you end up having? And then if you can, tell me what practically happens.
Right. Okay. So the feeling is, so really having a good conversation with that person and really talking to them and, understanding from them, how do they get in that position? How did they do it? What hard work did they do? How did they get their business going? What were the difficulties they had in that, etc. And then it would kind of be me, having that proposal work through. I'm not saying like in the next, I'll do it in 1 year and it's going to just happen, because that's, unrealistic. Something like, 3 years, or, like a practical standpoint as well.
Okay. So you're looking for a career path. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a career path, but it's like a project. I'd say it more as like a project, more of like,
okay.
Yeah.
So is this still for the competition you're doing, the business competition, or is this actually for you trying to figure out what you're going to do?
Yeah, it's like it's a project. I've done the competition. I'm going to re-enter again next year.
Okay.
And I've already spoke with a few people in where I want to do it, in a different country, to put my, proposal there. It's just, as you say, it requires so much of this kind of positive energy to put towards these things and making those actions like happen,
Okay.
It's like that a bit,
So it's like you could keep it like really dry and academic and not really do any legwork and kind of just like put a bunch of slides up and get like a passing grade, or you could actually like really invest in it, learn something, have an experience, and grow. Is that kind of what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah, you can really make something out of it for sure.
Right. And so you're trying to really get something out of it rather than just make it a chore. And so the big thing that I would ask you is like, what would make it most exciting for you? Like, what would, like, if you were going to embrace this, project, competition, whatever, as a real adventure rather than just something that you're doing purely for a resume or purely for a grade or whatever, what would be the most exciting form it could take for you?
So it'd be like really making that impact. So one of the ideas was putting the machine, which has a very, very positive impact on emissions and crop yield. Putting that machine in the country, for my country, I think would be Pakistan. I'd like to do it there. And it would be that the local farmers and everyone is like really benefiting from this machine and is doing well and is doing good things. And the people that I've spoke with, the investors, are happy. It's making them a return. I'm happy because I've got a good team of people, that kind of thing. I mean, that's kind of where it's at with my mind.
Okay. And so when you think about, like, if you imagine that being like a wild success, can you tap into the feeling of that?
Yeah, I think I actually can. Like it obviously seems like something that is challenging, but it doesn't seem completely out of this world. It doesn't seem like it's completely impossible.
Right. Okay. So that's your seed node, really. That's the macro seed node, at least within this framework of clarity. Like, as far as your career stuff goes, would you say that you have much clarity for career beyond, this project, or is it kind of still pretty amorphous past this point?
No, the career path is accounting. I mean,
Okay.
a career path is accounting. It's just that this, I feel like you need the experience in a workforce, but you have this project as like this, as you say, like kind of a dream macro thing. It's like something, if everything aligns really nicely, I mean, it would be great.
You mean like you would potentially want to do this instead of accounting? Like if you could be a, philanthropic entrepreneur?
Yeah, absolutely. But I also see the value in accounting. Like accounting gives me that financial like kind of clarity of like, okay, if I did accounting, it gives me the ability to know income statements and balance sheets and drawing those up as a philanthropist.
Sure.
Um, you know,
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, there's definitely value in having accounting knowledge and everything like that. But I guess the thing I can't tell, so I want to push a little bit, is like, what would you rather have? Like, if you could pick a life as an accountant or as an entrepreneur, which one would you rather have?
yeah, entrepreneur is obviously way more fun.
Well,
It's
it's arguably a lot harder.
Oh, it's 10 times harder, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you've got self accountability. No one's gonna tell you you've got these amount of hours. It's like you've got to put double the time in. I think, right? Is that
Yeah.
right?
Well, I mean, depends. Usually, at least for a period of time, you do. But if you're built for that, then that's what you'd be wanting to do. So, I mean, I guess my question for you is like, are you kind of selling yourself short by not making that a real intention? Like I see you kind of passive, like, oh, it'd be nice if I could make that happen. You're not going to just stumble into that. Like that's something that like maybe not. There's always edge cases, okay? But like in general, if you want to have that life, you got to make it. And so it's like, do you want it?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it does work 100%. It's just saying that there is a path there. Like I'm saying next year, I mean, there is that competition again.
Right.
And it's like that it's not like I just do the competition willy-nilly and I get, in the top 3 or whatever. It's like I have to put months in whilst, of a proposal. Like it was 6 months of doing the proposal.
Yeah.
And I have been doing it not passively. I've tried to really do it.
Were you doing it as someone who was like really going at it to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. It was there. It was the proposal to have that feeling of what it's like to have an idea and really pitch it, genuinely wanting that to happen. Like
Okay.
it was that kind of thing.
Okay, kind of like this startup sort of mentality in a lot of ways, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So if you're going to do that, then I would just say like if you really want to do it all out, then you have to like kind of like live in a world where you're doing it like seriously, like as in you are going like this is your path to being an entrepreneur. You claim that and you practice some brain bridging. You think about it like, all right, if I really had my livelihood riding on this, if I really like if this is really my ticket to make it to the next level, treat it like that. It's like that's what I'd be plugging the seed node into. It's like you can play a game all out even if there's levels of uncertainty to it. So for example, like you can go all out on this idea of trying to win this competition by essentially being like a startup entrepreneur or whatever, and still know that maybe that's not what you want to do. Maybe. But you like the idea enough to give it 100% effort to figure out whether it's worth pursuing or not, right? And so it's like, from that framework, what would be the ultimate sort of success you could achieve out of this sort of scenario?
Okay, so the ultimate success would be I win the whole prize. I win the prize, and that investment gives me $1 million. It is actually $1 million investment. So
Is it really? Wow.
Yeah, it's massive. It's an international thing, so you have to first you do your on-campus competition. So that was the one I did. I came third, which is pretty good. And then you have a regional event. So this is a regional competition where all the universities with their top teams, top 6, pitch, and they try and win that. And if you win that, you get coaching, you get all these investors with you, and they all kind of help you pitch your idea into actual real life, and they do it with you. And that's kind of the goal with that one.
That's fantastic. And so like if I were you, I'd be going for the win.
Yeah, absolutely.
At least the seed note, like the emotional component for the win. And so let me explain to you kind of how sometimes this works. Like say you hold that seed note of victory, feeling like, I got it, so grateful, over the moon kind of thing like that. But say you don't get it. It's, a lot of things could go on with that. Maybe it's just not big enough scale, or someone just has like a truly genius idea or whatever. What tends to happen when you play the game like this is that like you'll still get that feeling satisfied. Like it'll just come up in a different way. So maybe someone from, for example, Pakistan, they get wind of what you're doing and they're like, hey, I know you didn't win this competition, but I'm still all in on what you're talking about. This is a brilliant idea. Let's do it. And so you'll find that you'll get to where you want to go if you keep your focus there and you're willing to kind of brave the ups and downs that reality sends you. But like, that's what I would be aiming for. And like getting that endpoint clarity is really valuable, because then that determines everything else that you do, right? That's the thing that steers you and drives you. So how does that feel if you were going to take that sort of more audacious aim of like truly, totally like winning, not just winning, like maybe dominating, okay? If you were going to take that, how does that feel inside of you when you try that on?
Yeah, no, I really get that, and I think it helps once you've done the reboot. It's like you have that energy, then it's not spilling, as you say, everywhere else. You've got that focus to kind of put it really into that. And I think that's exactly what like I feel like. Even this time round, even though we didn't win, I really felt like I was pushing, the team like as a group to really get that feeling of competitiveness and really going for the win. And we nearly did win. Like we nearly did get it, and we definitely got some really I got some good responses from the investors, and they messaged me and you know what I mean. So there was some good things that came out of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, absolutely. So I think I'm drifting a bit from your initial question was how to like get your like what to do, or what exactly was the core thing you're hoping to get out of this, walking down this thread.
No, I think we did. It is the mindset, and it's being able to kind of see that even though there is not always full clarity, it's being able to hold on to that resonance and being able to still go through it and be able to play with that manifestation, whatever comes up.
Right. Right. So what might that look like over the coming, days and weeks? Okay. So what are the challenges you're likely going to have to face, and what would it look like if you were going to completely, overcome them with flying colors?
Right. Okay. So first of all, we have the economics exam going well. That is the flying colors. We've done well in that exam. That's gone well. The other manifestation would be that career that I just went for, and the careers that I've gone for, they get positive results in my applications. The seed node for the competition, the preparation is a little bit further on because it's next year. But that would be that I did really well in my pitch. I have a really good team. I've picked solid people. We work really well together. The idea is strong, and when we pitch it, it's we pitching it very, very well, and we get that first prize. And then that's kind of where it's at, I think, in my mind.
What could you do that could take that even further? Like if you got out ahead of the game and you already started talking to investors, for example.
Right. Yes. Exactly.
I mean, like if you came into there and you did your pitch and you've already talked to multiple investors, what advantage could that give you?
It gives me like, what do they want? Like it makes it clear, like what are they actually looking for? Like what are the economic, what do they want economically? What are they expecting? Absolutely. No, that's a hugely important thing, to know the investors and what they're about.
Right. And so that to me sounds like that would be one of the big things that you would want to be focusing on, is like getting into this before like it's even crunch time or whatever. Like say, all right, let me put it to you this way. Say like your family's lives were riding on you winning this thing.
Yeah.
Okay. What would you be doing?
I would just be, absolutely, going all out, really, right? You'd have to absolutely give it your all, for sure.
Right. And that's the kind of the power that you have potentially access to now. Okay. There's this idea I have, I call it the apex principle. And it's the idea that like, if you go, I guess, I don't know if I want to get into that full thing. All right. But there's this power that I call about going all in. Okay. If you really devote yourself 100% to something, you unlock a different level of potential success. Okay. So for example, the guy who is mostly all in and he's doing pretty good, and he still, goofs off a lot, and he still has a lot of fun, and he still, goes and does a whole bunch of other things. His results, he could probably get the 80-20 for sure in whatever he's going after, as long as he doesn't have a lot of escapism or dysfunction or whatever. But like, when you start getting into hierarchies of performance, okay, let's say you 80-20 something, and you make it into the top 80% of, the class. Okay. Let's just do something simple as like job applications. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're an 80th percentile student, you could probably get some decent job offers, right? What if you're the top student? How different is the opportunities available to the top student versus the 80th percentile student? How different? Right. I'm asking you.
Huge. Yeah. It's a big difference.
Right. One can go work for, Elon Musk, and the other, it's like, yeah, they can get a decent job. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's when you decide to go all in and give 100% effort to something, it does unlock entirely different levels to what you can accomplish. And it's not right to do that with everything all the time. And so maybe one of the things that you want to play around with here is like, what level of intensity do you want to go with this? Because you could, I'm not saying you have to, but like you could just 80-20 it and be like, maybe my time is better spent elsewhere. Maybe I know you're a tennis player. Maybe I want to actually like really bring my tennis game up in my tennis coaching, or maybe I want to focus more on my accounting stuff or whatever. And it's like, when you don't want to maximize something, you're usually better off just 80-20ing it and then putting the excess energy elsewhere. So it's like, I'm kind of like in a binary with stuff like that. Either I'm 80-20ing or I'm 100%. Otherwise, you're just being inefficient, essentially. So what do you think is the right setup for you here?
Okay, so I think for now, the halt price stuff and the competition, I think is 80-20.
Okay.
And I think I still want to prepare beforehand. So when, let's say 4 months or so, or 5 months, something like that, beforehand, we go fully, like we go absolutely ham before it even starts. And we really like try and reach out beforehand.
Right. So that's great. And so you can even kind of split it up. So like, after this exam and you get your job applications in, you say, all right, what's 80-20 prep that I can do this far in advance? Maybe it's literally just talking to a couple of investors and being like, hey, what are the key things that you look for in XYZ?
Absolutely.
That wouldn't take a huge amount of energy, but you could probably get a lot of great direction from them, right?
Yes. And Mark, I did do that. So
great.
I did that. So I spoke to them, and I was surprised. I was like, I didn't think I'd get any replies because these guys are pretty busy, and we just did the competition. But I've got 2 replies, which is fantastic.
Yeah. What if you're someone who's an actual go-getter and you can present that in your messaging? Usually people will get back to you. It's like, I always will. Like, if someone's just like whining about something or demanding information or, wanting to just get, I could tell they're just trying to use me, or they're just trying to like force me to look at their problems. Like sometimes, I kind of just have to be like, hey, I got a space for this. It's like, come join the Vanguard, whatever. I can always help you out there. But like, I can't help everybody's small problem. But if I see someone who's genuinely inspired, who's genuinely trying to make a difference, that excites me, right? And so you got to realize that people at the top, they love seeing other people play their game, and they want to help them win, but they want to know that you're a player, right? They want to know that you're like really trying to go at it. And so you can always unlock that kind of power with other people. Like, it's just the way that you present yourself. So the fact that you're doing that, that's probably one of the most high leverage things that you can do, is learning from people who know the things that you want to know, right? Instead of like having to learn everything through trial and error.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't know if I mean, we have some debates over the Tim Ferriss book, the 9 to 5 book. But
the 4-hour work week?
4-hour work week, sorry. I mean, he's got some great stuff in there. One of the things that he did say was the leveraging thing, about speaking to people. And I took that, I took that advice. And I mean, he didn't flesh out fully, but he gave a few links of people. I don't know. Do you think it's worth like really bringing up like absolute experts that way, or do you think do you think it's better to do through email, or what do you think is your way to really, what do you think is a wise way of approaching people like that?
Always email them first, and where possible, and it could be useful. Try and propose some kind of win-win, like. Yes. If you can help them in any way, like any sort of advertisement or whatever, be like, hey, you guys could sponsor us and we're planning to win, like, whatever it is. Like, I don't know how it would work out in your scenario. But other than that, it's just respectfulness, brevity, punctuality, make it as easy for them to work with you as possible, So, yeah, that's what I would do. And as far as like the 4-hour work week thing, I think that's mostly a scam. And I think he even admitted that. Like he says like, that doesn't really work today. I can't remember. I have to look into it. But like some of the principles in there are good. But yeah. If you're actually building a thriving business in just 4 hours a week, that's impressive. Good on you. I don't think I could do it.
Yeah, no, I thought it was interesting, but I get some of the points with the leveraging. I don't know if you heard, what was it? I know we've read the 80-20 book, but there was Rob Moore's book, and it was all about leveraging, and he was saying things like he listens to audiobooks when he's driving, or he's trying to do tasks together that can be done together in one day, and a lot of that stuff I thought was pretty good.
So if you want to really study the 80-20, the master of it's Perry Marshall. Did I tell you about his book?
No, I don't think Perry Marshall.
I have his book over here. It's 80-20 Sales and Marketing by Perry Marshall. And he's the master of it. And the thing that he kind of discovered is that the 80-20 principle is a recursive function. So do you know what that means?
Well, just have to keep doing it, or?
No, so it's like, say you found, like for studying, the 80-20. It's like you found the 20% of studying activities that gives you 80% of your results, right? Well, yeah. There's another 80-20 inside of that 80-20.
Right, okay.
And so you can keep going, you can keep drilling in deeper and deeper until you find the truly most high leverage buttons in every area. And so like that's the idea, is that you want to constantly be drilling in and like just figuring out all of the most high leverage shit that you can do. And so like it takes a little bit of like what I found is that doing that is something that what do you want to say? It takes some journeying, because what ends up being extremely high leverage is not always obvious, and sometimes it's actually counterintuitive. So for example, like you see me putting out daily videos, okay? Someone would say that's not very efficient. You should just be putting out the best content all the time. And they see me like doing Twitter. It's like, why are you doing that? You're getting very little engagement, whatever. It's like, the idea is that actually the most high leverage thing that I can do is create a lot of fucking ideas. And it's from that I can then package that stuff into, hard hitting pieces of content or products or whatever. But like, in order to do that, I have to create an absurd amount of ideas first. And so like my 80-20, my super high leverage 80-20 as a content creator is actually, it looks super inefficient because like, look how much content he's creating. But that's actually it. That's my button, is just make more stuff. And then you're going to be able to identify what the best stuff is. Like each idea, it breeds more ideas. Like the more ideas you have because your brain's an associative machine and you train your brain for it. And so it's like, this is something that I think probably holds true in all areas. Okay. Like, I found the same sort of thing happen with fitness. So, when I was younger, I was really into like Dorian Yates style hit bodybuilding, where it's all about like one super like max effort set to like done till ultra failure. And it's super efficient. That's what appealed to me about it. But the problem is, as you get stronger, the amount of warm-up sets you need to do increases significantly. The chance of injury goes up significantly, and that sort of thing. And so like, I tried all different other kinds of stuff to overcome those issues. But eventually what I found out is that like, yeah, that's still right, but you kind of fit in like for example, instead of going right in and maximizing that one set, I found that you do a complementary set beforehand that really warms those muscles up, that gets you going, gets some cardio going, gets muscular endurance going, and then you can hit that super heavy one. And so it seems less efficient than what I did when I was younger, but over the long term, it actually is more efficient and it actually hits that button more efficiently, if that makes sense. So it's like if you really want to become a student of the 80-20, it's like you got to explore and you got to be willing to go on an adventure with stuff so that you can really find the 80-20 inside of the 80-20. And it's like you get these nested chains of efficiency sort of working together. Does that make sense?
No, totally. Really very, very good advice. And I just remember the other advice you gave with, clearing up. I mean,
cleaning up.
Oh my God. I just can't even tell you how much of a difference that makes. It does. It makes like you're doing so I was doing the reset ritual, and every time I've done the reset ritual, I've done it, and then I clean up, and I get back to the desk, and it's like straight back to it because it's everything's in place, everything's fine, and you have that new start, and the button goes off in your head, and you're like, oh, clean start, new day, and it feels good. I think It really works.
Right, and so this is a preview of some more future content. Is this idea is that like that applies, I think, to everything. I think we're way better off like kind of using the tail end of almost everything to just clean up, reset, so that the next time you go at it, you're in a great place. So it's like, for example, on Fridays, I would usually just kind of work myself to like work myself through the whole week, work all the way up to Friday afternoon and just drop everything. It's like, all right, I'll reset everything, Sunday evening or Monday morning. Now I mostly use my Fridays when I can, if there's not any kind of like fires I got to put out, I'll use that entire thing to just clearing my plate, cleaning stuff up and getting everything pristine for when I get back to work. And like, I think this holds true with a lot of stuff. Like, you'd be better off dropping a few sets in the gym and spending that end point just stretching, cooling down, getting yourself like ready so that you're fresher for your next workout. Like, same thing with like, how you spend your evenings, same thing for like everything. The tail end of everything is usually like low quality work being done anyway. And if you can just figure out how could I reinvest this so that the next time I hit my, ramp up phase of whatever it is that I'm doing, I'm hitting it with more preparation, more clarity, more ease, etc. Because really what you want to optimize is the first part of whatever sort of energy cycle you're in. So like because that's when your energy is the freshest. That's when you're most motivated. That's when you're the most focused. And so the more things you can line up for that, the more you're going to take off, the higher your arc is going to be in that scenario. But if you have to, if you're starting in mess, you're starting in uncertainty, you're starting in lack of clarity and that sort of thing, then, by the time you get everything settled, you're already on the tail end usually, and you just got yourself into a groove and you got to stop.
Right. Yeah. And then the flow states, right? So, it gets you into that kind of clarity to be able to do those flow states, as you say. And the claim and the preemptives for that's, really useful to have everything clean and ready for that, because then you could just focus on those things.
Exactly.
So I think that really helps. So, no, that's definitely a lot of stuff covered there.
Yeah, for sure. So, we have covered a lot of ground. Is there anything else that you would like to hit on before we wrap up here?
No, I think we've hit quite a bit there. So yeah, leave it to you.
Okay. So, it sounds like you got your work pretty well cut out. It doesn't sound like there are any sort of hard changes that you're going to be implementing, but I always try to walk away with some kind of practical focus. So if there is going to be one thing from this call that you were looking to really adopt internally for yourself or externally for yourself moving forward, what would you want that one thing to be?
A good question. I think it's just kind of trying to see, have that internal resonance there and try and play with that and see those opportunities that come along my way, but really go for the full win still. Go for the full win, and whatever that picture is, work with it fully and try and be wise. Go 80-20 or go all in. And I think that's kind of where I'm at with that. I think those two things, and like you say, keep your mind clear, keep things clear, and try and find 80-20s within 80-20s. That kind of stuff, right?
Right. Yeah, man. So I think that sounds good. So it's going to be trying to keep connection to the resonance, make sure you're always thinking about where do I want to go, because intentionality is super, super powerful. And sometimes that's where the game starts. It's where do I want to go? I don't know. Well, that's where you start playing. It's you got to start testing these options, be what feels good. And you got to be willing to brave that uncertainty and roll around in it until you find something that clicks for you, at least clicks enough. If you find something that's this sounds maybe this could work, well, then start walking down it, test it out, and either pivot or double down. And then other than that, it's either 80-20 or all in. So if you're not doing one or the other, then there's room for improvement in one way or the other.
Yeah, definitely. Sure. I totally agree with that.
Okay. Well, good stuff, man. Thank you so much for having this chat with us and being willing to share this with everybody. And thank you, man. I'll see you in the Vanguard, I guess.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you for all your work. It really, really helps. Thank you.